Hello, everyone. Welcome to the very first satsang from Germany. Germany, the first satsang I've done in years. That's actually at night. It's quite a quite a weird feeling, actually, because the sun went down like 4 hours ago, and sitting here in the dark. I had to turn on some lights. I have some candles going because I've been just working. It's completely black outside, but anyway, here we are. Let's see if I can do as well at this hour of the night as I, at least as well as I think I do in the morning. But welcome, one and all. It is so good to see you. It is so good to be here with you. And I got a question that I wanted to take up because it's such a big one, and I'm just going to cover it on a cursory level here to just to kind of try to add some more insight to it, and maybe just kind of clear up Renek's confusion, because he had. Well, let me read the question to you. This is the best way to do it. He said, "I'm confused. I was under the impression that true Buddhism and non-dual thought shunned the idea of lack, desire, and thoughts due to magnifying the identity ego. Yet our life is what we believe it to be, ? We have free will to manifest through the law of attraction, ? It seems like that's the antithesis of the path. It'd also be nice if next time you can clarify where the law of attraction benefits or doesn't benefit the path. Maybe I'm misinterpreting." I'm going to keep going back and forth and referring to that. Actually, let me start and go through it slowly. I'm confused. I can understand. I can understand. It is a very subtle thing. When you're talking about manifesting what you want, you're speaking in the realm of law of attraction is just the recent way that it's appeared, and it's really diluted and watered down. I mean, it's grade school stuff, right? What you're referring to is an insight into the nature of how the world gets created and everything in it. From the yogic perspective, they call it city powers. And you've heard about yogis that can, do all sorts of amazing things, levitate and, make objects appear and the like. Well, we don't usually think of those in those terms because the yogis, coming from a very different culture, aren't trying to manifest the new car or the ideal relationship or a better paying job. But it's a cultural difference. The fact of the matter is that power is real. Right? The question is, what do you do with it, and who is doing something with it? There's a very amazing quote from Nisargadatta Maharaj, who said, talking about the process he went through to his own full awakening, he said, I've had all the yogic experiences and I have washed them off, for there is no real greatness in spiritual power. Now that's amazing, because most people, even yogis, are pursuing that place of spiritual power. Well, what is that spiritual power? Well, it is, what, as Buddha put it, nothing but mind. That what you are doing when you are living your life, your supposed life, is you are walking through your own thoughts. Probably the most profound thing that was ever said in the movie The Secret, the only profound thing, actually, and I don't really think he got it. I don't remember which guy it was right now who said it, but he was saying, but they said, and this is kind of a common theme, thoughts become things. And he went so far as to say thoughts are things. And that's true. what you are experiencing is there's not a world out here and me here. The law of attraction has that as its foundation. And so you hear the same people validating the law of attraction through neuroscience and through quantum mechanics, as if they understood that. There's only a handful of people who in the world who understand that. But nonetheless, there's this, the foundation upon which it's based is exactly the opposite of the non-dual approach, the non-dual existential explanation. Right? Now, because of that, right, it doesn't mean that if I don't believe it, if I believe it enough, it's going to happen, because it will. To the degree that you believe in something, it will become your experience. Now, what do you do with that? If you have no spiritual background, if you have no genuine spiritual experience with self-inquiry, you will want to appropriate that power for the purposes of the ego. Whether you be a yogi trying to gain spiritual power, trying to be able to do all this magical stuff, all of which every sage throughout history has said, it's a trap, don't go there. Right? The Western version of that is, I, the ego, can now manifest anything I want. Now, notice that doesn't mean it doesn't change the fact that, in fact, you can. Right? Now, the question is, what do you do with it? Right? I mean, Einstein's theory of relativity opened up a whole new world of science. What did we do with it? We invented the atomic weapons. I mean, talk about insanity. The principle was the same, right? It could have been used for good or used for ill. It could have been developed more to the point where it became safe rather than dangerous, but it's how we used it. This understanding of how the universe actually functions, right, is not the antithesis of non-duality. Right? Here, let me try to make this really clear, because in your question, and I haven't gotten off the first thing, I was under the impression that Buddhism and non-dual thought shunned the idea of lack and desire and thoughts due to it magnifying the ego. This is a misunderstanding of it, right? Okay. If I lose any of you, please just let me know. I'm gonna do my best to, because this is very subtle and it's very deep. Let's just start with the experience that everybody has of desire and suffering. Desire, sometimes fulfillment, sometimes it leads to suffering, right? Everybody has had the experience of desire arising. Everybody, no exceptions. In fact, if it didn't arise, none of us would be here because our parents wouldn't have had it. So there'd been, and they wouldn't have existed. Life itself cannot exist. It is a force of nature. It is a force. In fact, what we call desire, what we've anthropomorphized into human desire, is only the functioning of life, right? The feeling of desiring to eat, right? The desire to reproduce, the desire for shelter, right? All of that. Do you create that? Is that a personal possession? Is that something you made up? What the Buddhist and non-dual teaching are pointing at is not you've got to get rid of desire or transcend it. How can you? Right? It's completely embodied in the entire system. And on top of that, if I start down this spiritual path of I'm going to transcend desire, right? Is that more or less of the ego? Right? So now it's the ego that's going to adopt a spiritual persona. Now I'm overcoming desires. I'm putting all of my desires aside. Now, I can speak with authority about this because I did it. I tried to put all of them aside. Right? And let's not forget that the Buddha did exactly the same thing. Siddhartha, he wasn't the Buddha yet. He he had conversations and interviews with countless numbers of spiritual teachers as he began his journey, and eventually decided, which was probably the general view of the Brahmin class which had been the spiritual teachers at that time, that you attained enlightenment through the total transcendence of the body and all its desires, which is exactly what Rennick, you're saying here. Isn't that what Buddhism teaches? So, according to the legends, Buddha became an ascetic down to the point where he was eating 1 grain of rice a day, didn't bathe, didn't shave or cut his hair, didn't wear clothes. Everything was basically to torture the body into letting go of desire. Well, the only thing it did was leave him emaciated and almost dead. And as the story goes, and who knows the historical accuracy of it, but as the story goes, he was just almost completely exhausted, emaciated, nothing left. I mean, he looked like death warmed over, laying by the side of a river. And according to one version of the story, this sounds rather apocryphal, but it illustrates the point. Maybe this actually happened, or maybe this was just an image in his mind, but something along these lines occurred to him. And according to the story, there was a boat that slowly went by, and on the boat was a man and a boy, and he was teaching him some stringed instrument of some Indian string. I'm not sure which it is. And he said to the boy, if you tighten the string too tight, it'll break. If it's too loose, you cannot make any kind of sound. And it struck the Buddha. And that was the origin of the middle way. And that he had been tightening the string so tight it would break to avoid loosening it so much, which is total indulgence, right? Now, notice there's not a denial of desire. And at that point, a young girl came along and she sees this guy half dead, and she offers him some food. And it was actually like a sweet, like a dessert kind of thing. And he ate it. The first actual food he'd eaten in years, right? Because if he was a Jain, he'd been eating dead leaves and all sorts of things. I mean, at any rate, it was then, after that he went and sat under the now famous Bodhi tree to meditate. And, we see the pictures of this, beautiful, the perfectly coiffed hair, and his, sitting there in total contentment under the tree, when in fact it was this half-dead, scary. I mean, he would have been scary looking, right? Imagine, 6 years, hadn't cut his hair, he hadn't shaved, he hadn't bathed, he hadn't. So he sat down and he said, "I'm not getting up until I find the answer to suffering." Now, so the desire isn't the problem, it's the I. In the law of attraction, they say, I want this. I'm going to manifest this, right? They talk about the this and visualize the this, have a vision board of the this, right? Putting all of their energy into the wanting, into the trying to generate the feeling of having, all of that. All the focus there. There's not one iota of focus on the I. And that's where Buddhism and non-duality puts the emphasis. The thing desired, fine. The feeling of desire, fine. No big deal. Who's the I? To whom is this sense of desire arising? Is it personal? Is it my desire? Right? If it's my desire, I seek to manifest it. If it's not, I let it do what it does. Now, this has a very practical implications for us, because we all have human needs. I have shelter, right? We have to have some money to get what we need, right? So this is what it really is how do you take this non-dual understanding and live it in the most practical way, right? And the idea of this constant self-denial and trying to get rid of desire and all of that, first off, you can't do it. It won't work. And secondarily, it's not the way. Forget trying to get rid of it. It's there. You can't get rid of it. You can't get rid of, can't stop your body from growing hair or digesting food or blinking or sneezing. You can't do it. So don't bother trying. But notice that all of those functions are not personal. They're simply the functioning of life. Desire is the functioning of life, nothing more. And therefore, it is not personal. Now, if the desire isn't personal and it arises, do you need to transcend it? Do you need to get rid of it? Does it matter? Does it have the least bit effect on you? Right? So don't let yourself become a person, an ego, trying to free themselves from desire. You'll do what the Buddha did, and it turned out to be wrong. You do what I did, and it turned out to be wrong. And I just wish I had known that story about the Buddha 20 years earlier than I did. And it would have saved me an enormous amount of grief. Let me just go back one quick more time. So you can see it's not the antithesis of the path, it is the path. And the resolution and reconciliation of these apparent opposites is what it's all about. Non-duality, by definition, is beyond. It is beyond both desire and the overcoming of desire. It is beyond the tightening of the string and the loosening of the string. It is beyond all pairs of opposites. It is beyond an I and not I. It is beyond existence and not existence. So I hope I've clarified that for you, Ranak. I'm giving you Ranak. I think that's how you say it. And giving you Ranak. I assumed it was a guy, but I'm not sure. Actually, I don't really know. So forgive me if I referred to you as man and you're a woman. But I hope I've clarified that enough that you can chew on this, because as you can see, it's very subtle, right? Buddha was not saying get rid of desire. He was saying get rid of the I that desires, that takes personal possession of that. And at that point, you'll find that even the word desire disappears, because what is it? It's just a functioning of life. Right? This is how life functions, right? And of course, without it, there'd be no life, period. Right? You wouldn't eat, you wouldn't do anything, right? You just waste away into nothing. So see that that there's nothing inherently wrong or bad or that should be avoided in anything. Right? When the sense of I has been transcended, all desires become available to you with the wisdom that goes yes, no, because you can't get through life without it, right? You have a desire to be here now, right? But wisdom has directed you to satsang rather than the pub, which is a good thing. So I'm gonna leave it at that. That's kind of a long introduction, but I've been thinking about it really ever since I saw the comment. As I've been walking around in jet lag, sleeping at weird times and the like. But I think I'm getting back. I think I'm getting closer to being on schedule. All right. So thank you for that, Renak. It's a great question, and I hope I clarified it for you. It's again, it's a very subtle and an incredibly important thing to ponder. Don't just take the kind of the orthodox view. Oh, desire, bad. Because you throw the baby out with the bathwater. All righty. Rosario, hello, sir. Welcome. Hello from Madrid. Best wishes, new life with us in Europe. It's nice to be here. Emiliano, hi from Sweden. Interesting topic today. I hope I covered it for you all. Right? Don't be afraid of anything. Don't be afraid of desire. Hariom to you too, Jay. Robbie, hello and everyone from Romania. I'm going to steal your concept of jello plans. Life is too fluid for concrete plans. Amen. Amen. Hey, Mary, hello to you. Hello, Penny, Ava. Roberto, nice to see you in Europe. Yes, I'm here in Europe with a question, without a question mark. Mary Sykes. For some reason, I thought I saw a message from GP that his new time would be 8 p.m. Eastern. No. It's 2 p.m. East, same time Eastern. Yeah. I'm the one who changed. You guys don't change. I changed. Right. So I may have messed it up. Right. Remember, I do all my own web stuff. So I may have messed it up. I'm going to check his blog and find me guilty of making yet another mistake. 8 p.m. CET, 8 p.m. my time. UTC or GMT is 7 o'clock, right? And the East Coast is 5 hours less. I'm 1 hour more. The West Coast is 8 hours less. And I'm 9 hours ahead of where I used to be. Hence the jet lag. Diane, hello, Diane. Hi, everybody in GP and everyone from UK. A strange thing is happening in my mind. Each thought line seems to belong to a different version of me. I feel fragmented, and as if I am on another planet. Wow. Well, how can I explain this? The ego is not a thing, okay? In fact, there is no such thing as an ego. The nature of the mind is to always be generating a story or an explanation in an attempt to make sense of the world, which means it is generating a sense of identity constantly. And it's a story, it's a fiction, it's a fabrication. Now, the story falls into a pattern, right? And that pattern changes more slowly than other things, right? And after a while, you, consciousness, before you've awakened to this, you see that pattern, mistake it for yourself, and it becomes something concrete. You believe it to be, oh, this is who I am. And so now you say each thought line seems to belong to a different version of me, right? But you understand, there is no me. There isn't somebody there who's branching off. What's really happening is you're becoming aware of the mind constantly creating you. You're being generated in every moment, like a character in a movie. You know, the movie, the character arc, right? 90 minutes in a movie, and they've gone from bad guy to good guy, or good guy to bad guy, or, you know, normal guy to superhero. These incredibly huge changes in very brief amount of time. But of course, none of these characters are real. You know, the dumb high school kid who becomes the superhero. Neither of them are real. The transition isn't real. The experience, none of it is actually real. All of it is a story being generated. The sense of identity is a story being generated by the mind and constantly updated. It is not a thing. Just like when you watch a movie on a screen or on the screen you're looking at right now, there's not actually a continuity, right? The screen is just refreshing the picture so quickly, 60 times a second to be exact, that it appears as if you have this continuous stream. And of course, you look at it, it seems like your mind turns it into a continuous stream. But in fact, it is a series of extremely rapid, constantly refreshing pictures. Now, at any time in that, at any time at all, that picture can just go, in any frame, the next picture can appear. A cut, boom, the next picture will appear. Right? It might even startle you a bit. Right? So, but right now it appears to have continuity only because the picture, the next frame that shows up looks very similar to the one before it. And so the continuity is an illusion. It doesn't exist, right? So when you're experiencing it, I'm sympathizing with you because in the beginning, the things that start popping up and the insights you begin to have as you awaken can really be quite disorienting, right? So each thought line seems to belong to a different version of me. It does belong to a version of you. Every thought line has a different person. Think of it as a different movie that's similar to like a sitcom, right? It's kind of the same characters, and every week it's kind of the same, right? But it's not the same. But imagine it as being one of those things that every week it's a different character. Right? They're like the previous one, like the evil twin or something, but it's not the same. So you have to understand that the thought line isn't just something appearing to you. The thought line is creating the you believe yourself to be in real time. So because there's this sense of wanting a concrete sense of self, a concrete identity, you say, I feel fragmented and as if I'm on another planet. Well, look very closely at that I. Right? The I that feels fragmented. It's your identification with a sense of self that you believed needed to be fixed. And therefore, all of these things aren't making sense from that context. This is the lie. This is the mistake. This is the fundamental ignorance. This is what you let go of. There is no stable ego. It doesn't exist. There is no you as a concrete thing, except just notice what is seeing the thought lines. What is noticing that they all seem to belong to different versions of me? What is aware of feeling fragmented or being on another planet? Now, is that fluctuating? Is that going up and down? Is that made up? Is that a creation of the nervous system? Or is that you? Aren't you the one that sees the thought lines? Assesses it. Oh, it is. That's a thought line, right? You're obviously looking at it, right? Okay, who's doing the looking? Right? And is that which is doing the looking and seeing the thought lines and the fragmentation and the sense of being on another planet, is it fragmented? Is it on another planet? Or is it right here? This is the essence. This is you. And all the rest of this stuff only feels uncomfortable because you're not used to being you. You're used to being a person, which itself was nothing but a creation of the nervous system. It has no real foundation or substance to it. But that which is aware of it, isn't it totally substantial? No matter what happens out here, isn't that there? That's you. That's the real you. That's the you can't even call Diane because it was there before the name even came up. It was there before the body appeared because the body itself is generated, not from the mind, from what in Buddhism they refer to as the repository consciousness. But I won't get off into that right now. That's another rabbit hole we can go down later. Does that help, Diane? I'm going to scroll down to the bottom real quick here and make sure that that's good. Okay. Nothing coming back saying, oh no, that makes no sense. Good. Thank you, Diane. Thank you. I hope that answers it for you. Oh, there's Bob. Hello, dear friends. Hello, dear GP. Welcome to Europe. Thank you. It's it's been fascinating. I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I have a whole series of blogs I've just created. You guys have seen. Well, some people go to my blog regularly and check what's there because I publish it there first, but I don't tell anybody about it. but then they're dripped out. So the very first one, which is Set Fire to Your Life, which I did, came out today. There'll be another one that will be released in general on Tuesday, but I'm about every other day I've got 9 written so far, because it's just I've spent 2 whole days doing nothing but writing. I'm finding it very inspiring to be here, and that's part of what I was looking for, was just kind of a place where I could really settle in quietly and do my work, which is to alleviate suffering and save all beings from suffering, basically. Serish, hey to you. Thank you, Ava, says Mary. Dale Wiggins, hello, GP, enlightened nomad you. Yes, the nomadic version of me. Patricia, hello, Patricia in LA, Dorte in Denmark. Hey, Anne, how's Germany? It's marvelous. It's fun. There's Liza. There's Merck. Hello from your almost neighbors in Sweden. Welcome to the old world of Europe. While we still try to enforce feudalism on the people as of this day, now more than ever, elbow cough. Hey, they're doing it in the United States too. It's a universal thing. They don't like to call it that in the US, but yeah, it's this. We really haven't outgrown anything in a very long time, but we are. It's all falling apart. Namaste, G. Hello, Steph. Everyone, welcome to Germany. Hope you like it here. I do. So much here. Facebook user. Hello, Facebook user. Hello, Melissa. Hello. How can we love all people the way we love our guru? Well, if you try to do it like a human being, I'm going to love everybody, you will fail. Human beings can't. We can't do it, right? When you transcend the sense of egoic self, you find that love is not an action, it is the nature of being itself. You are love. Like this, you love like the sun shines. Right? Now that doesn't mean everybody's my friend. Hello, come over. Hey, right? Because people will take advantage of you. There are scoundrels, right? The same love, because it isn't afraid, because it isn't favoring one over another, it is wise. It can see somebody who has no integrity. It can see someone who is a boy in a man's body who isn't trustworthy. Right? Why? Because it knows what love is. So it recognizes the aberrations of it that aren't love. And so you can't love others the way you love your guru, because the guru is an adoration of yourself. The guru is a representation of you. And if the guru is a true guru, he will be constantly pointing you back to the fact that everything you see in the guru is in fact you being projected on them. And that's their job, is to eventually get out of the picture so you see it's been you all along. We project our world. We project everything in it. This is the great mistake. We look at the world, we think it's something separate from ourselves, and then suffer the consequences of that, when in fact we are looking at our own minds. Right? This does not exist as an object that I am perceiving. This is thought. That's what it is. It has no existence outside of perception or mind. So, who is the guru? You. And so, what you're learning to do is to see that all the wonderful qualities of all these wonderful people, the ultimate word for that is God, right? God, the ultimate wonderfulness, is in fact the disowned self. It is you that has been disowned by identification with the egoic mind. And the egoic mind is simply an arbitrary, completely fabricated creation of the nervous system as an adaptive mechanism to survive in an environment that was hostile to its true nature. That's all it is. We get really identified. This is who I am. And then we think, okay, this is who I am. And now I'm going to try to overcome desire. I'm going to try to love everybody. You can't do it because it's impossible for that to do. It is not possible. The ego is not capable of love. It doesn't even know what it is. It has an idea. It's all behavioral. It's all external. It's all circumstantial. Where love isn't circumstantial. If love is your nature, you just love. You don't have to learn how to do it. You don't have to practice it. You don't have to compare. Should I do this? Should I not do that? You don't have to consult with some holy books, right? Because everything you do is love because you are love. And you at that point, I think Nisargadatta put it beautifully. Let me remember if I can get the words. I may have to paraphrase it though. How can I commit a sinful or virtuous act if I am not? If you transcend that sense of self, you neither have virtue nor sin. You can neither do good nor bad. You have transcended the opposites. So the desire to love the way you love your guru, the guru gives you access to the love that you are capable of experiencing because it is your nature, right? And then you very naturally go, how can I love everybody like that? What that really means is, don't forget the I. How do I do that? But how do I become the love that bathes everything in its own beauty? How do I realize myself as that? That's the question, right? Then you realize that what the guru is doing is always bringing you back to that. So you stop identifying yourself as someone who loves, and the sense of I begins to become love itself. God is love, which means love is God, which does not mean God is someone who loves, which is the way it's being interpreted. It means it is love itself. Love itself is not personal. It's not limited to a form, or a shape, or a name, or a location. It's not limited to any kind of personality or temperament. It does not have a form. It's an infinite principle. It is the true I. I am love. Ponder that. Really take that in. I can feel that you intuitively know that it's true, but what's happening? The nervous system, which has been totally identified with someone who loves and hates, like some things, doesn't like others, has all sorts of preferences, that it's rejecting this idea of I am love. No, love's great. Love's something else. Love is something I could do. It's really great when I do it. Put all of that aside. Just notice that all of that is the habit energy of the projections of mind. I am love. Let that be your mantra. And you will find yourself loving everyone, but in the most wise way. This kind of love can't be made a sucker. It can't get taken. It can't be manipulated, right? Because it sees clearly. Because love is truth. It is also wisdom. It is also the insight. It sees everything, right, as it is, right? The good as good, the bad as bad. Thank you, Melissa. I hope that helps you. If not, I'm sure I will hear about it. Let's see. There is something down here. Thank you. What of polarity? Well, I think I kind of covered that, because the polarities are just the nature of life, right? You can't have desire without fulfillment. To see desire, fulfillment, love, hate, all of these things, to see them as they actually are, you transcend them to a place that is beyond. Rightfully speaking, you can't really even call it love, right? Because it's beyond what we can possibly imagine as love. It is transcendent of all opposites. Therefore, it is beyond all polarities. And there, in its wholeness, there is simply one. But in order for that one to appear in form, it must appear in time. And in time, it must become two. You must have a polarity. You must have up and down. You must have right and wrong. You must have male and female. You must have night and day. Without that, the yin and yang, there can be no creation. But that is only the appearance, the self, the singular unity, the one without a second, without anything else existing other than itself, appears as two, and it's only an appearance. And that, and with that appearance is space, time, universe, all of it, because all of it is necessary to give form to anything. For you, you could not exist. You and the universe coexist. Right? Both came into existence at exactly the same time. Had to. Otherwise, how would you be distinguished from the background? There had to be a background. Right? And so you're female, there was male, and I don't, something else somewhere, right? So this is the polarity that you're talking about. This is the contrast. This is, without it, there is no form. But the mistake is thinking that the entity, the things that appear are entities in and of themselves, and not an appearance of something else. That's why you can say it's unreal. Not because you don't experience it, because you do, but because it is an appearance of something else. It isn't itself substantial. It isn't self-existent, which is why in Buddhism they use the term, it has no self. Right? Take it all apart and you won't find a self. It doesn't exist. Right? And so the only way creation can happen is for the one to appear in time, space, and opposites. But the actual nature of being, and the one appearing as many, that one is being itself. And that's you. Right. That's you. The consciousness that is hearing my words right now is the only self. Oof, chew on that one. Thanks again. Okay, Milo. Hello, hello. What is a good or the best way to achieve a goal if actions don't necessarily lead to it and we can't navigate our lives anyway, through faith, trust, and prayers? Well, let me take it. Okay, let me see if I can discern what's the best explanation for you. All right, let's look at first, where does a goal come from? Do you create a goal? Now, bear with me on this, because this is different than anybody's going to tell you out there, and goal achievement and manifesting results and all of that kind of stuff, or success methodologies. Look at the moment there was a desire, right, to do something, right, that solidified into, that became enough dominant. This desire became dominant enough that it started to engage action, right, thoughts started going there, behavior started going there, ideas started going there. So all of a sudden, this thing started gathering energy around it, and then we called it a goal. Right? Go backwards now. It's very subtle and really interesting. We go all the way back to the first emergence of that desire that became the goal. Now, becoming a goal, it could have taken a week, it could have taken a month, it could have happened, instantaneously. But if you ran it in slow motion, you'd find there's the desire that develops. Sometimes the desire comes up and there's conflicting desires. Sometimes there's an attitude, maybe I shouldn't have this, or I'm not good enough to have it, or I don't know how to have it, or I need more of this to have it. It can run into those kinds of things, but it can also just go, oh yeah. It can be as simple as I want a latte and I have the money in the pocket, and look, there's a place that has lattes. I'm in, I'm good. And it can happen that fast. There's no difference, right? There's absolutely no difference. Desire, there's the place, right? Goal, get to the place, get my latte. I mean, it seems trivial, right? But it's exactly the same. Now, look at that original desire. Where did it come from? Did you create it? Look really closely. Can you find yourself making that desire? Or did the desire just appear out of nowhere? And as that desire took root and collected more stuff around, it began to get some momentum in action. Very early on, maybe 2, 3, 4 thoughts after the desire arose, there's the thought, my desire. It happens later. The egoic attachment or personalizing or taking ownership of happens later. It's not in the original desire. It's just this innocent thing that bubbles up from God knows where. Oh, God, actually. Boom. And there it is. And then what happens is it runs into all of our preconceived notions. Oh, how do I achieve this goal? Right now you're into the realm of the ego. You're into the realm of the I. That's not in the desire. The desire doesn't ask that question. It just arises. Here I am, right? The desire itself doesn't even care if it fulfills itself, right? It is just what it is, period. It has arisen, right? But then, oh, my desire, how do I do that? Oh, I don't know. Do I need this? Do I need that? I need this. And before you know it, I've got to make plans and I've got to make this happen and got to talk to this guy, right? So a desire, if you leave it alone, right, will either fulfill itself, right, or it won't. But you won't care because it's not your desire. That is, and I don't want to admit, oh, it's none of my desire. I don't care about anything. I'm just going to sit around and chant Om all day. I don't mean that. What I mean is that what desires get your attention and what don't, it comes from a very different place, right? It isn't, I need to have this. It's, oh, look at that. I wonder where that goes. And you're just with it because it's just a phenomenon of life. It's just happened, right? Just like, it's like you can't control who you fall in love with. You can't decide I'm going to do that. It isn't something you own personally. It just happens, right? And you're in, right? And you go along with it. You don't really think that much about it. And you don't make goals and you don't have to make little steps, right? Think of every desire as like that, right? It has a purpose. It's got a place in life. It came from life. It's not your personal possession. In the course I did, Your 4 Amazing Powers of Creation, I talk a lot about the nature of desire, and that our relationship to desires is like the relationship between a garden and the flower. You're the garden. It's going to grow in you, right? And all you need to do is maintain the garden. You don't have to worry about it growing or fulfilling itself. It's inherent in it, right? If the ground is good and it's soft, it's well fed, it's got lots of water, it's got sunlight, it will become whatever it was meant to become. And, you know, imagine planting a seed in the garden and you don't know what the seed is. You might not have any idea what that is until it actually bears fruit. Oh, look at that. I had no idea that's what it was. And some take a long time. You know, some trees are like 10 years before they start giving any fruit. They take a long time to mature, right? So we have to approach it like that. Now, notice I haven't said anything about goals, right? What is goal except a focusing of attention, right? Because if this particular thing does get your attention and it resonates and there's an importance to it, and that's different than an attachment to an outcome, there's just an importance to it, but it's a disattached importance, right? It begins to gather a focus that prioritizes other thoughts. This isn't important. If I've got a goal to lose weight, I choose in any given moment, am I going to eat that chocolate cake or not? Am I going to sleep in or am I going to get up and go to the gym, right? You can see that that now creates an energy that has an organizing effect on thinking and on action. But remember, you're not the thoughts, you're not the action taker. It's not a personal possession. The desire, the energy of the desire itself is organizing it. And if you see that, you'll never worry about attaining a goal ever again. If they're attained, great. If they're not attained, great. Because the reality is that you are already whole and complete, and you need nothing to complete you. So the appearance of a desire is not to get something. It is the self manifesting itself. It is a birth. It is the goddess energy. It is the womb of being, right? It appears to you as a desire which begins to organize thoughts, right? But this is a birth of the universe of something, just the way this body was a birth of the universe of something. And so you're just bearing witness to it. And so the reality of the self is giving birth to the appearance of itself, the manifestation of itself. Right? And therefore it comes batteries included. It has everything it needs. And your only job is to be the universe that's giving birth to it. But when the universe gives birth, the womb of being does not create as an act of will. It's simply its nature is to manifest itself. And remember what I was saying earlier, the nature of creation, that what you experience is a series of images. It is not anything really happening in time. That's an illusion. It does not have continuity. Creation is just images appearing. So fast, they appear to have the continuity of life, but in fact, they're not. This is the nature of creation, which is not, as we think of it, an act of will. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this thing. I'm going to make it happen. It's not that. You didn't make the desire happen. You didn't make this body happen. You didn't make the universe happen. It just happened, right? Because you are who you are. And so the act of creation is not an act at all. Matter of fact, it's not even legitimate to call it creation. It is simply the nature of the self, right? Try to picture it like this. Imagine an infinite mind, right? Infinite. That it has no boundaries, right? Which means it doesn't have space or time, which it's not located anywhere. There isn't even an anywhere for it to be located. There is no space. It's dimensionless. It has no limitations. It has no boundaries, right? But its nature is mind. What do minds do? They think, they ponder. And what does that mean? There's a creation of images, right? This is the process we call thinking. I'm trying to take it and expand it to the realm of the infinite, right? The images that it forms in this mind are nothing but mind, are they? They're not something else. It's not something out there that's been plucked and put in. It is the nature of mind itself. And so all of these images are just images. They're not entities in and of themselves. They're just images of this infinite mind. Right? Now, what are they images of? What is this mind thinking about? Well, there's only one thing it can think about, and that's itself. So all of these are the self-image of this one infinite divine mind. This is the nature of the universe. All of this is the mind of God. And you are that mind. I know I digressed a little bit there, Milo, but I hope you got your answer. Let me check down on the bottom of the comments, make sure. Okay. Great. Okay. I always look for Guten Abend, G. Welcome to Europe. Guten Abend, Annette. I actually know what that means. I have been trying to learn. I have been trying to learn German. I'm using a thing, Duolingo, and it's actually nice and remedial with pictures and things. It's like being in grade school. Being the oldest kid in the class in grade school who's flunked 3 times. All right. Oops. Annette, how is it possible to go with the flow, to trust and let go? Thanks. It's impossible for the ego. It's the nature of your true self. To the degree that you come to understand yourself, which brings you to the understanding of all things, to that degree you will understand that the flow is all that there's ever been. It's always the flow, and that there's no I that could possibly resist it. That even the I that seems to be resisting the flow is the flow. Just part of the polarities, the contrast, right? So even the egoic mind is part of the flow. No, yes. Everything is the manifestation, right? So on one hand, you'll have a saint, the other hand, you have a sinner. One hand, you'll have this virtuous, the virtuous sage. On this side, you'll have the narcissistic ego. All the polarities are there. If you can perceive it, it cannot be you. Obvious. I see it, not me. Right? Now, I've just talked about how this is all in the mind and it's all a thing, but this is the twofold path. I bring you to the point where you see that it's not me, then you begin to see that it's all me. So I'm not contradicting myself. Well, I am, but I'm doing it in the most positive way, right? So how is it possible to go with the flow? By acknowledging that you always are, always have been, always will be. You just thought you weren't. And the thought that you weren't created the sense of resistance that said, oh, it shouldn't be going this way. It should be going that way. I'm obviously not in the flow. Whatever way it's going, that's the way it's going. Period. Right? It's the ego then says, I don't like that. Things aren't going the way I want them to. I must not be in the flow. Nope. Things aren't going the way you want to, and you're in the flow. It happens to be flowing off in that direction. Okay? And so the trust thing is not something, it's not a quality you gain. I'm going to learn how to trust now. I'm going to learn how to let go. Forget it. It comes with understanding. Oh, wow. Wait a minute. Everything is flowing. I didn't start it, and I can't stop it. Nothing I can do can alter the course of the flow. I don't have that power. I can't make it be different. So it's flowing in this direction and I don't like it. Where do I look for a solution to that? By changing the direction that it's going? Or by going, oh, there's something in me that wants it to go in a different direction. Can I let go of that? Well, take another step back. Oh, I'm looking at that too. So there's this energy in me of resistance that is trying to insist that things should be different than they are. Does that make a lot of sense? Resisting what is? Like I want it to be ising something else? Oh. All right. So what if I was to just notice that what is resisting, what is saying, not wanting to be flow, wanting to flow in a different direction? What if that was just thoughts and beliefs and assumptions and programs I picked up without scrutinizing them? Oh, well, those thoughts would be antagonistic to the flow. Am I antagonistic to it? No. No, not at all. It's obvious to me that life is flowing. I didn't start it. I can't stop it. I can't alter it, even if I. And there's these other ideas that say I don't like it. It shouldn't be that way. Well, which one's going to get your attention? Which one is going to get your confirmation? Oh, obviously, that in me, which naturally harmonizes and wants to harmonize with it, right? That's the closer to the truth than all these thoughts that are disagreeing with it. Right? So now you're actually dealing with the resistance, and you're not dealing with it as somebody struggling with it. You're dealing with somebody watching it, because that's all it is conditioned habitual patterns in the nervous system. And when you're disidentified with them, you see that that's all they are, right? You see conditioning as conditioning and not as me or as a personal thing I've got to get rid of, but a distance. Oh, I see. This is simply the habit energy. This is the way I was taught to be. Got it. All right. It's not what I actually am. It was how I was taught to be, conditioned to be. And you go, now there's distance. So how do I really feel? I love going with the flow. Makes perfect sense to me. Why would I go anywhere else? Why would I not flow with wisdom? Right? And at the same time, you notice this. Oh, well, yeah. Well, what about? Oh, well, now I know who you are. I know the voice. And of course, there's no voice. It's like Siri, right? It can say I and say all sorts of things. I don't know that, right? But there's nobody there. There's no being there. There's no self-conscious sentient entity there. It's just a voice. Now there's space. Are you feeling the space as I'm talking about this? Right? And notice how naturally you the more you see that, the more you trust it, because it's self-evidently true. You trust the truth because you end up being the truth. You see the truth. You realize this is the truth. Oh, it's just true. I didn't make it true. Nobody can unmake it. That's true. Nobody can take the truth and make it false. So, my deep desire is to simply consciously, throughout all of me, willingly just kind of cruise along with this natural flow of life, which is obviously benevolent. Okay? And yeah, there's some things in here that are resisting it, and they're like, okay, it's fine. No big deal. I'm not going to make a big deal out of those. I notice them. I don't give them any attention. I just keep coming back to myself. And you find that self is the flow. And this is how we resolve all those difficulties, all those inner contradictions and inner conflicts. So I hope that answers it for you, my friend. Very good. Very good. Suzanne. Hello, Suzanne. Hello, everyone. What does it mean to live life fully? Not talking about the commercial definition. Oh, yeah. Well, it's having the big car, the house, the trophy husband or wife. Yeah. What it means to live life fully is to have no resistance to this present moment. That's it. That's it. It's that simple. To live fully is to simply have no resistance to right now, which means doing the dishes. I'm living fully. If I'm not sitting there thinking, I wish I could do something else. If I'm sitting there wishing I wish I could do something else, you're not fully present. Your attention is divided. Your heart is divided. You're dismissing this as insignificant and unimportant, and there's something else that is important. Well, obviously, this is where you are. It's where you want to be. You're not full. You're not all there, are you? You're not present. Right? Can you see? It's really very simple. We're retraining ourselves to be present in this moment, to listen, to you could start just with the faith that I'm telling you that there's more here in this moment than you realize. You don't have to just take my word for it. Excuse me. And you can ask this question to any spiritual teacher through all time, and they'll tell you the same thing. Presence. When you are present, you are simply in this moment. And when you are present in this moment, you find that you're not comparing this moment to any other moment, a better or worse moment in the past, or an anticipated better or worse moment in the future. Which means this moment, just as it is not compared to any other moment. And what does that mean? It's perfect. It has to be. It's what is. It only becomes imperfect or less than when it gets compared to something else and there's a preference for the other thing. So, well, I'd much rather be doing this. Suddenly, this moment is not okay, which means I'm not present because my part of me is looking over there, and I am not fully living life. I'm not experiencing this moment. If I'm tired, be tired. If I'm grumpy, be grumpy. Notice it. Of course, the moment you notice it, you start to laugh, right? It's like getting angry about night. I don't like night. Go away, night. It's like, what's the point? Be in the night. This is what night is like. This is what twilight is like. This is what dusk is like. Oh, look at that. This is what it's like being hungry. This is what it feels like to be lonely. This is what it feels like to be bored. This is what it feels like to not know what to do with myself. This is what it feels like to be in love. This is what it feels like to be totally relaxed and chilling. Right? Fully felt, without any kind of judgment or any kind of or putting nothing else on top of it. This moment, completely isolated from any other moment. As Sailor Bob said, is there anything wrong with right now if you don't think about it? This, of course, what I'm saying here is the power of now. This is what the whole book is written. This is what his whole career has been based on, is just this moment without comparing it to any other. And suddenly, boom, you are fully present, right? And you can feel it. You can feel when someone is present with you, can't you? I mean, if I was like really distracted, I was doing satsang and I go, oh, Suzanne, oh, right, Suzanne, yeah. What does it mean to live fully and not talking about the commercial? Oh, wow, look at that. I mean, you'd feel it, right? We notice these kinds of things. But the satsang sinks in because I'm here. This is the only thing that exists. This moment is everything. And in fact, it is. Has anybody ever experienced anything other than now? Hands? Has anybody ever experienced anything other than now? Even a thought of the future or a memory from the past is something that appears now. Now is all there is. The mind wants to wander off to the future or to the past, and not in the imaginary notion that it can get out of the now because it doesn't like it. Notice that all the disagreement with right now is the conditioning of the mind, nothing else. Does that help, Suzanne? Keep checking for new comments to make sure I'm not getting follow-up stuff. I'm not. Good. Yay, good. Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you, Suzanne. Thank you, thank you. Sylvia, a warm welcome to Germany, dear GP. Sylvia from Bavaria. Thank you, Sylvia. So good to be here. Oh, and there's Marlo, listening from Wisconsin. Marlo, God, we love you, Marlo. You're such a joy to have in the classes. David, Elaine, hi, GP and everyone. Loves and greetings from us both. Happy to see you have arrived safely in Germany. I have. Yeah, quite a trip. Quite a trip. Anja, dear G, very brave to start your visit in December. Anyway, welcome to Germany from Hanover, north of you. Ah, wonderful. Yeah, not that far north. Yeah, wonderful. I'm not sure it's brave. I started in December. It was just time. I knew I wanted to come. The way was opening for me to come. My lease was up at the end of November. I had a car lease to the end of December, but there's a shortage of cars now because there's a shortage of chips that they use in the cars and other appliances. And so they were anxious to buy my car back, so they just didn't have me pay for the last month. So that ended on exactly the same day. I said, okay, December's the day. It's the time, a week with my one son and a week with my other son. And so I'm not sure I call it brave. Just going with the flow. And this is the way it happens to be. I thought about that. Damn, it's a cold time of year to go somewhere. Don't you float to Bali? But Germany's where I belong. Martin, hello. Yes, Germany is beautiful. You will like it. I'm always happy to be there. How does one recognize a true master or guru and know which one to follow? Well, they look a lot like me. There's no scorecard, right? There's no little checklist. Okay, the guru is going to be there. There are a few things I can say, right? First off, you start with a certain sense of resonance with what they have to say. It sounds true to you, right? And they feel true to you, right? I mean, don't dismiss it. It's supposed to be impersonal. He's a guru, so even though I don't like him, I'm going to go to him anyway. Don't do that. I had one fellow that I was a student of, and I just didn't like him, right? And I finally said, I'm not going to do this anymore. He was very upset. He was very pissed off that I was supposed to be really obedient to the master. I said, you haven't proven yourself to me, right? I'm not going to be laying my life down in front of anybody until they have earned it, and I have the right to do that, and so do you. So that personal relationship, but you have to, and it's a beautiful thing to do, because if they start getting too personal, right, then there's something wrong. If you get too personal, you just go, oh, what I really want is a father figure, right? A guru is not a father figure, right? And a real guru will sense that and will give you just enough that you feel comforted, that you get some of that needed, because a lot of us didn't get that, but not so much that a dependency forms. The real guru will never belittle you, will never tell you you have to do something, will never make demands of you, will never make you feel insignificant or small, will never make you feel as though you owe them anything, will never ask anything from you. They will not be turning you to them for answers, right? They will never be possessive. They will always be turning you back towards yourself. They will always be telling you the answer lies in you, right? And I am just a reflection of you, and I'm here temporarily, right? The guru is here temporarily to give manifestation to what's inside of you. And, as they say, when the student is ready, the master appears. And when the student's really ready, the master disappears. Right? And so those are kind of the characteristics. It's love, right? There's not any kind of personal grabbiness. I've heard about some gurus, teachers, that a lot of what they had to say, but they were just like, they were harsh on people. When somebody wanted to leave their group, they were like, sinner, you're not going to get anywhere. It's like, if you hear that kind of stuff, run, don't walk away, right? No explanation even needed. It's so easy to become cultish about it. So there's always an enormous amount of love and respect for you, right? Even if they're whacking you upside the head, right? You can feel that it's love. And it, I have to do that every now and then. Somebody said, I hate to do this, but that's bullshit. Really. And sometimes the teacher will be that blunt. Oftentimes it'll just be very subtle. What about this? What about this? What about this? Because the point is to get you to see it for yourself. The real guru doesn't represent a theology, right? It doesn't represent any kind of belief system, right? It has nothing to do with any of that. It is direct inquiry into your true nature. Who are you? Who are you? And who can answer that question other than you? I can't. Buddha can't say, this is who you are, right? You have to answer that. You have to go, well, who am I really? Okay. The master can say, right, is that really you, or is that the thought you're holding of yourself? Oh, it's a thought. Let go of the thought and see if we can get to you, which is not a thought, not a representation of you in mind, but you, the you that is there and has to be there before any other experience can possibly be had. Always pointing back to the true Satguru, which is here in you. I guess that's, as far as which one to follow, you follow your heart, right? And you don't, it's not like this is it, one and done, right? You may find the one that is your teacher, and that will be it, right? Until either they're gone or you're gone, right? But that it's also possible that you could hang with me for a while and then go to Muji, right? Who was my teacher, right? I've had people do that, and I go, of course, go. Again, if a guru has any kind of reticence about you leaving, then they're not real. So yeah, that's just personally compatible and carries spiritual authority, integrity, and love. There it is in a nutshell. There's my checklist. Somebody want to turn that into a checklist, and we can sell it on eBay or something. Peter, hello, sir. Good evening from Italy. Wonderful to be here. Enjoy Europe, even if we were living in strange times. Well, yep, living in strange times. If I was going to wait till there weren't strange times to come to Europe, I may never get here. Hello, Karen. Good to see you. Sylvia, is there any chance to meet you at a live satsang in South Germany? There's a big chance. I mean, one of the reasons I wanted to come here is I have a lot of students and people to come to satsang in Europe. I've been wanting to put on live events around Europe for a long time. I was planning on it, actually, and then COVID happened. Stuff kind of got put to the background. I have somebody looking into it right now, but obviously, until it kind of opens up, the live events are either going to have to be quite informal, going to people's houses and gathering people, or the restrictions are going to have to start coming off. That's the only way I'm going to be able to do it. And in terms of, I'm happy to go to things that are less formal, right? But I do have to, I go to church. I do have to charge for things because I have to, pay for myself to get around and eat and have a little bit left over to, pay for my tiny house, which is, that's it. It's an Airbnb place that I'm looking for some place to actually rent. Although I'm finding that to be less, a little more difficult than I had thought. Plus, renting it to somebody from out of the country. So, if any of you out there can help me with that, please, by all means, that would be great. I got Steph, who's here, who's helping me find a place. But anybody who can lend a hand, we'd much appreciate it. But yeah, the bottom line is I love doing live events, live satsang, live retreats, live workshops. I love it, love it, love it. But just haven't been able to do it. So if we can organize some like house parties where, kind of under the radar of the officials, because if I do a public place, I can't do a public place. You just can't do them. Because unless I don't want a bunch of people sitting around in masks, unless that's your choice. Of course, you'd be able to, but so I don't want to be flippant either, right? About the whole thing, but yeah, if we can get some informal things going and we can work it out so I can afford to get there and back, I'm totally down with it. So, and hopefully in 2022 it'll start to open up and I'll be able to do more of that. That's one of the big reasons I'm here. So thank you for that question, Sylvia. Sean, glad to see you made it overseas safely and you're settling in well. Yes, it's nice here. I do love it. It is really great. Yeah, it's a beautiful atmosphere, and as I said, I'm feeling very inspired. I'm just writing a lot, and just kind of really flowing. So I'm delighted at the whole thing. Diane, yes, it helps, and I see what feels like a warm, empty space I'm resting in between my question of which I is thinking this. Yes. Oh, when I hear questions like this, I sometimes kind of like time trip or kind of go out to another dimension. It's like, what if somebody has no idea what we're talking about? What would they think? I'm resting in between my question of which I is thinking this. You realize what madness that seems would seem to people on, to civilians. But it's such a legitimate question, right? But if I'm totally identified with this I don't even know that it's just there's an I that is identified with an I, that there's actually two there. That was Eckhart Tolle's moment. He'd gone through years of suffering. He just hated himself, everything. He was just never happy. He was just, just anxiety. He was a wreck. So he's 29 years old. And one night he said to himself, I just can't stand myself. And suddenly he went, wait a minute. I can't stand myself. How many of us are there here? And he just started to ponder it. I can't stand myself. And he realized there was something looking at this other thing that was his self. And he goes, what is that? And over a course of a bit of time, boom, oh my God, the whole thing was a construct. And it was a similar kind of thing for Steve Jordan, which most people don't know who he is. He never became a world teacher, but he was a fully enlightened master and a real character, chain smoked like Nisargadatta. But it was a similar kind of thing. For him, it was at the age of 17. Just pondering something so deeply, and suddenly it all broke. This whole facade of a false self just dissolved, and there was just the I. So, anyway, yeah. Don't be talking about this at just your local networking group or a party or something. DeGaio Parciero. Hello, sir. A little heart for me. Thank you. Bill B, practical question. A coworker asks me not to involve her in a company legal matter, but it appears I have to as part of my case. Should I respect her wishes, even if it means compromising my case? Wow. Bill, I'd be reluctant to advise you in an environment like this, a general environment like this, because generally speaking, first off, I really appreciate the fact that you're in the midst of this quandary. You want to do the best thing you need to do for the case involved, and on the other hand, there's someone who really doesn't want to be involved in it. And I don't know the specifics, obviously, or anything of it. You should try to, but also open yourself up to the idea that life is fluid, right? And that, do your best to try to make the best case you can without it, right? And then also consider what the case looks like with her, right? And you might be able to make a case for her, right? And just the act of holding both of those is extremely powerful, without really trying to take sides. Because I really respect the fact that you want to honor her request, but I also understand the dilemma you're in of wanting to make the best case possible. It may be even possible that the case without her, right? It's a matter of win or lose. In which case, you owe it to yourself to make the best pitch to her, right? But really make sure you understand what the picture looks like with her and without her, because the clearer you are about that, the clearer you can present it to her in such a way. And if it's depending on what the actual case is, right? I don't know anything to be able to judge it, but if it's something that's really, really important, like a whistleblower suit, some really egregious violation, then you may have to go past your wish and say, this is too important, right? You just have to make sure that it's this is too important is about the case and not about me. It's too important that I win, right? But it may be some environmental violation or something that it really is bigger than both of you. In which case you may you have the right to just go. Matter of fact, you have the responsibility to at that point. So obviously, I'm not making it any easier for you. I'm trying to clarify the points, because the clearer you become is the difference, right? And know exactly where you stand on each one, the easier it is for you to engage with anybody else. And also, energetically speaking, that's on a practical level of just being able to make a case to somebody else. That on another level, energetically, the more you're immersed in it, with simply looking for the best possible answer that's there without your personal pride or ego involved, that has an energetic power that affects everybody. And you may find her changing her mind without you saying a word, right? Just because you've shifted the energy. So keep yourself pure. Keep the ego out of it. Really make this about what is the very best thing that could possibly happen for all concerned. And if that's your motivation, that's love. That's love in a very practical way, right? And yes, love is quite capable of winning court cases. So I really hope that helps, my friend. And thank you for bringing that to me. Renak, good. I got a heart instead of a frowny face. I guess you liked my explanation. Good. Facebook user, love the wood barn setting. It's really a beautiful little place. This is, if I can see back, that's the bed. This is just the upstairs. I'm in the bedroom. It's a tiny house. This is the upstairs, which he made into one bedroom. So it's nice. It's got a desk sitting here that he built in, and downstairs is everything else. There's a little living room and a kitchen and the bathroom and all that. So it's a tiny house. It's small, but it's really, really well done. And it's an old brick building that they renovated. So yeah, I like it. It's really comfortable. I'll be here till next Friday. Facebook user, the act of creation is simply the nature of the self. Yes, it's not creation. When you see it like that, It's not creation at all, is it? It's just the self knowing the self, right? And we see that even the words creation, right, especially in the West, the Abrahamic religions, God as creator, the creator and the creation are two completely separate things. And therefore, the religious life that arises out of that, which is Christianity, Judaism, and Islam, is a legalistic relationship with the creator, right? And in this case, that creator idea revolves around Yahweh, who was basically a warrior god. I mean, he's just cruel, vindictive, jealous, petty. And this is the creator, right? Weird. I could go off on that, and I have before. So anyway. So yes, creation is constantly happening. You can't help it, right? Every time you get a thought, it's a creation. You didn't create that thought. Every time a feeling goes through your body, you didn't create it, did you? See if you can find yourself creating it. You'll find that it's all spontaneously arising out of what appears to be this empty nothingness, but in fact is simply formless intelligence, aka yourself. Lose. How I choose to be born in a better dream like heaven. I want immortality like ancient Egyptian. Well, at its essence, heaven is simply the internal feeling that everything is right as it should be right now. Because think about it. What would immortality or heaven be if I was discontent there? We want to think of it in terms of material conditions, right? Everything I need is met. I'm young, I have no extra fat on the body, right? I'm hopelessly handsome. I have everything I need. That's the way we picture it. But what does that really mean? It means I am eternally safe and satisfied and content, right? That image, even the Egyptian model of immortality, or the Greek model of immortality, or the Christian model of immortality, like heaven or heavens of heavens, right, are all projections of the mind that are imagining the circumstances in which I would feel heavenly, at home, content, unlimited, boundless, free. Right? But the truth is that no circumstance can give you that, because circumstances are constantly in flux. They're impermanent. They're always changing. They're the appearance. So what you're really seeking is the perpetual knowledge, inner understanding of freedom, safety, contentment, peace. Sat Chit Ananda, being, consciousness, and bliss, as my very nature. If it is my nature, I can never lose it. If it's something I have to gain, like a heaven or another, then I can lose it. But if it is me, well, that's the only way it could possibly be immortal. I must be it. And if I must be it and immortal, we're not referring to immortality starting here and going on. Immortal means immortal. Eternity doesn't mean, an infinite amount of time. It has to also include the infinite past. It means being is beyond time. It is beyond space. It is beyond all of it. That is heaven. You are heaven. You don't need to be born into another dream, because that will be transient. At the enlightenment of the Buddha, according to the way the story goes, of course, it's very metaphorical and it's very allegorical. There's all sorts of things there. But according to that, at his enlightenment, which the fully enlightened, and in some traditions, they believe that there's only one Buddha, anybody of that level every 2,500 years. Right? So we're talking primo, right? And I do believe the Buddha was the greatest teacher that ever lived. But at his full, unparalleled, unexcelled enlightenment, even the devas, the divine beings who lived for thousands of years in heavenly realms, came to the Buddha to receive the Dharma, for the wheel of the Dharma had begun to turn once again. And according to the Buddha, the only place one can attain the ultimate unparalleled enlightenment, which is immortality, the true heaven, is to be born as a human being. It is the perfect middle way. It is the perfect spot in the middle between the light and the dark, between the good and the evil, between all of the opposites. If you're born into the hells, right, you have no experience of that. Everything is hell. If you're born into the heavens, everything is heavenly. You have no experience of it. But you are still locked in a personal sense, either hellish or heavenly. Only here are we smack dab in the middle. This is why to be born as a human being is the most blessed and auspicious thing that can possibly happen to a human being. Therefore, you have already been born into the best place you can possibly be. Don't seek to be born into a better dream. Know that you're in the place where you can seek to be free of all dreams forever. And that is immortality. That is the true light, or Luz. Thank you, Luz. Lulu, thank you for helping humanity. Oh, you're welcome. Facebook user, how to go with the flow. It's impossible for the ego, yet the nature of the true self, by saying that the ego isn't real and that it's not you. That's how you do it. Yes, it is impossible for the ego, but you're not the ego, so no problem. Now, it sounds kind of flippant the way I say that, but I have to keep bringing that back to the point. The ego is a construct of the mind. It is a construct of the nervous system. It is a construct of nature. It is not a reality. So when you say it's impossible for the ego, no, it's not possible for the collection of thoughts, the belief system that make up what we call the ego, right, to go with the flow, because it's always objecting to the flow. It never likes where the flow is going. Now, if you notice that there's a part of you that doesn't like the way life is going, that's the ego. You disidentify with that. Just say, that is the egoic patterns of thought, and therefore not me. You now withdraw from it. Now, at the beginning, you may not know where to go. Well, how do I think then? What do I think about anything? You won't know, right? Because you're stepping out of a completely different way of thinking. You know, it's like being taken from one country and dumped into another where you don't know the language, right? You're kind of like, okay, what does any of this mean now? I don't know. Okay, so you be with that. You just be with that. I'm walking around grocery stores now going, okay, it looks like soy milk. Right? Honig. Oh, honig, honey. Yes, I know what that is, right? But what do you do, right? Okay, it can either cling, or I can just kind of go with the fact that I'm in this place where I don't know anything, right? I'm way out of my comfort zone. So, okay, good. Let's be with this for a moment. That's going with the flow, right? And I've made some mistakes, right? About, that isn't what I thought it was. It's not toothpaste, it's denture cream. Okay, I don't have dentures. All right. I didn't actually buy that one, but so the ego is a collection of thoughts and feelings, right, that is resistant to life as it is. It's never content. Discontent is the nature of the ego. So if you're feeling discontent, you are identified with the ego. Step back from that feeling and look at it. Ah, what is it about this moment it doesn't like? And you'll see it unfold. Oh, it's got an issue. It's not a thing. This thought pattern is resistant to this activity. Now, is there anything in this action or activity or thing that's happening? Is there anything inherent in this that says this is bad, this shouldn't happen? Oh, no. It's not inherent. It's just happening. It doesn't say, I'm a bad thing and I'm happening. It's just a happening. And I'm just experiencing it. So in between this, which is the flow, and me, is just the thought that there's something wrong with this. Now, if I see it like that, you'll see there's three participants here. Now, what has happened is that there haven't been three, there have been two, because this has been me. Hey, it's wrong. This shouldn't be happening. How can I change it? How can I fix it? How can I manifest something else, right? How can I attract something different, right? But that is identification with the ego. It's been hiding right behind your eyeballs. But now when all of a sudden you do this, there's me, there's a thought pattern that doesn't like this, and then there's this. And at this point, this guy's lost a substantial amount of his power and authority. Yes, you're used to being identified, so you'll find, oh, you're back up there. Okay, pull him back out again. Stick him here where you can see them, where you can see him. Something happens in the environment. It is perceived, and immediately there is a conditioned reactive pattern to that event that takes the form of thought and emotion. That is the ego. That's all there is to it, a reactive pattern in the nervous system. Once you see it, you won't ask how to go with the flow. You'll realize I've always been in the flow, and this thought has just been telling me I'm not. Oh, I am the flow. How can I not go with it? It means there's a thought here that's saying something that's actually impossible. You cannot be anything other than what you are. You can, however, believe yourself to be something other than what you are. You can believe it and therefore have the experience as if it were true. But the moment that belief is gone, the experience goes with it. Because it's not true. You've never been anything other than the flow. You've never been anything other than the self. The self is not something we achieve. It's a realization that, my God, that's who I've always been. This is what Buddha refers to as the personal realization of Buddha knowledge. I have always been that. That is awakening. Live fully to what is right now. Don't know if it's the same Facebook user or not, but yes, live fully right now. Just be here now and notice how the mind doesn't want to be here now. Oh yeah, it's okay. But how about this? It's forever. That's the monkey mind, right? You just notice it. You don't have to stop it. Can't stop a monkey anyway. I don't know if you ever tried. Can't do it, right? So you just watch. And you don't need to stop. You're good. All's well. Renak, but doesn't a social movement start with resistance? Without it, there wouldn't be change for the better, would there? Don't confuse the inner resistance that I'm talking about with the resistance that comes from taking a moral position, right? Gandhi was a resistance, right? The protests of the Vietnam War when I was a teenager was a legitimate resistance. There's a we call it resistance. Unfortunately, we should have different words because they're really different things altogether. I see a moral imperative because I have come to a place where I can see that love is the answer. Not violence, not war, not suppression, not authoritarianism. That is not an answer. It has never worked. It never will work. It can't work. All it's going to do is make people miserable for a short period of time until it collapses. This is always the case, right? So I can see that as a truth. And therefore, I can wisely say, that doesn't work. It's not going to work. I don't care how hard you try to make it work. It's not going to work. This will, and they're going to disagree. And when things are immoral, where they're, I mean, racism and violence and barbarity and all the things that we see, they should be resisted, right? That's the word. So when I'm talking about resistance, I'm not talking about social movements. I'm not talking about the kind of behavior that arises out of a solid conviction of a moral position that is based on something other than an assumption, right? I'm moral because it says I act the way it says in this book, so I'm moral, so you should too. That's just as oppressive, isn't it? And of course, this is what we have to deal with. You have to come to the truth, otherwise, there will be a weakness in any social movement that you engage in, and that's why they struggle, because they're not pure, right? They're grabbing onto a position and making an enemy, right? The only place you have to transcend resistance is here. So you're not resisting yourself, you're not resisting reality, you're not resisting the truth. And when that takes root in you, it will begin to see clearly what adjustments to make and how, where to resist, where to compromise. It becomes extremely wise as into its dealings, but it never divides it into an us and them. And this is one of the big mistakes I see going on. Playing into the polarity that authoritarianism feeds on. It's us against them. They're the bad guys. Oh, I think it was Alexander Solzhenitsyn who wrote the Gulag Archipelago. Phenomenal writer, won the Nobel Peace Prize in 1970. He talked about that. He says, "Oh, if it was just so easy as we could find this group of evil people, the Illuminati or something, and we just wipe them out and everything is all good." He says, "But we can't do that because it's in all of us." Take that responsibility. They're me as well. They are me as well. What we're witnessing is the polarity of consciousness. Oh, I could go off on this for a while, but it's really the answer. It is the answer to the world's troubles. So, yeah, just don't confuse the two. I'm not saying don't be involved in. Yes, I'm just saying, wouldn't there be change? Don't sit on your hands. You don't have to do that. Wherever you see injustice, speak out against it. I do. I've criticized capitalism and neoliberalism right from the get-go. To the point where some people better not do that. You're going to get deplatformed. And I said, I can't help it, right? Because I see the flaw in it. I see where it's led, right? And now it's an ideology. It's not functional anymore. It's not loving, right? So you can take, but don't do it without the thorough investment simultaneously in the inner work that clears this stuff out, so that when you do it, it is just filled with love. There's no antagonism. There's no animosity. You realize that what you're dealing with are not evil people, but a state of mind that has affected all of humanity. And a state of mind is not something you can get rid of by killing a bunch of people or by imprisoning them or just getting them out of power, because it's in all of us. Thank you, dear boy. Thank you, dear girl. That's right. I don't know. Carl, thank you, GP. Is awareness more important than love? Would the power of love not have created a more peaceful world by now? Awareness and love are one. The peaceful world. Oh, wow. The world is in you. Don't contribute to the conflict and the pain and the suffering of the world by holding an image of the world as this horrible place with bad people and good people and things going on, and the bad guys look like they're winning, right? Love transcends all opposites. And in that transcendence, it and awareness are one. They are not two. Love is the nature of awareness, and the acts of love are the perfume of that. Love as the divine principle, love, not as love as an is a kind of action. So whenever you do anything loving, you are love. You're not somebody loving. You are love manifesting itself. Now, can love look on anything as less than lovable? This is a big one. I know. How can I possibly say yes to it? That's all I can say. You'll never make sense of it out of the mind. You can't. But say yes to it and let that peaceful world have its start in you. Awareness is pure, isn't it? Here's a great analogy for it. Your eye does not decide what it's going to let in and what it isn't, does it? The light strikes your eye, it gets in. The eye isn't sitting there going, oh no, not you. No, not you, not you. No resistance, no resistance. All of your senses are like that. You touch, you feel it, right? You hear something, it's in. Now, there are many layers in the mind that it goes through, deciding, judging, associating, making all sorts of references, right? This should be here, this shouldn't be, but it's already here, right? You can't judge that something should be here or something isn't, this is good or the bad, until it's in, which means it's already here, right? That's awareness, right? Because obviously awareness is just that which is aware of all of the senses and the mind and everything else. And so the deliberations of the mind are going on because it's already here. Now, what's the nature of love? The open-hearted receiving. It's that the feminine goddess energy. It's just, it's here. Right? No resistance, no rejection, right? No preferences. If that doesn't describe love, I don't know what does. So you see, awareness, pure allowing, pure yesness is love. Because it does not measure one against another. It doesn't pit one. It has no conflict with anything. Now, again, don't give this to your mind. Well, how can it not be a conflict with this? That's not living. And say, yes, the practical way in which we have to deal with life will only come when this is discovered and becomes so embodied in you that the wisdom of love is the eyes through which you see the world. And then you're like a Christ, right? He didn't contradict the law, right? That scene where they brought him a woman who had been taken in adultery, and the Jewish law for a woman who is caught in the act of adultery, right, which just meant having sex with somebody who was not her husband, was she was to be stoned to death. Not him, by the way, which I doesn't it take two? I don't know. It's been my experience, but okay. So they purposely were trying to trip him up because they wanted him to do something against the law. They were looking to get something against him, which is not unfamiliar, is it? This is what people do. Facebook does it all the time. Anyway, so they bring in and they said to him, okay, she was taken in the act of adultery, the very act, caught her in the act, right? She's supposed to be stoned to death. What do you say? They're trying to get him to do something that would be against the law. I said, well, don't do that. Right? Tough time. But how did he bridge this between violating the law, which would have to the Jewish community would have invalidated much of what he was trying to teach. He had to be I mean, he really pressed the envelope, right? But nonetheless, he didn't really step over the line. And in that position of needing to be in that perfect middle way came the most brilliant response. He who among you who is without sin, let him cast the first stone. Now, good, and no self-respecting Jew could possibly stand up publicly and say, I'm without sin. Didn't break the law, but he convicted by their own conscience. Now that's brilliant. That is the kind of wisdom that we need in the world. Wiser than serpents, harmless as doves. That is what we need to cultivate and then bring to the world. And you are capable of that level of wisdom. Really, you are. Believe me. If you don't, please just believe me. Even if it's not true, it's better. Right? You can believe it into existence then. The fact is, it is true. We limit ourselves so horribly. You are the self. You are the infinite intelligence. Stop thinking of yourself as less than that. Stop thinking of as the world as less than that. Let's see how many more things I have here. Oh, I missed a question, or I haven't gotten there, Sylvia. Let's see. So, did I miss a question, Sylvia, or did I not get to it yet? I guess I did. Let me scroll back, see if I can find it. I do. Oh, no, there's any chance to meet you. Saw that one. Oh, no, there's another Sylvia. I don't see it here, Sylvia. You forgot to press enter. Well, doesn't mean it's not here. It just means I'm not seeing it. Let's see. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Firdaus. Happy to be here. Struggling with jealousy in a long distance relationship as I ease into flowing with what is in front of me. Could you please say more about attachment versus trusting the moment? Remember, everybody, this is an art, right? It's not, there's skill involved, right? In learning stuff, but it's an art. An art takes skill and takes it to another level of nuance, but it's constantly interacting. The basic skill is, this is it, this is what I do. This is a lot of our philosophies, a lot of our religion. This happens, I need to do that. Very legalistic. Whereas art, yeah, okay, I got the rules down, but once I get the rules down, I've gained the authority to intelligently break those rules, bend them, shape them, and make them flow, right? So attachment versus trusting the moment. Well, the first thing to notice is, how do they feel? Right? The attachment is, I got to have this. If I lose this, I'm not going to be happy. I'm going to lose her, Firdaus. I can't tell, male or female. I'm going to lose him. I'm going to lose her. There's somebody else there. Now, notice that jealousy is always a projection of the mind. It's always an imaginary, right? Because if they aren't that into you and they are seeing other people, well, then they're not right for you, right? And wanting to hold on to them isn't going to do you any good. You want somebody to be with you who wants to be there, right? Has chosen you, right? So the attachment and jealousy go hand in hand, right? So let it go. Now, how do you let it go, right? Oh, I want to let it go. Right? By intelligently noticing that it's there. And the only time you're going to feel attachment, why do you feel attachment? Because there's an underlying belief that something is missing. And I get attached to it because I think that's going to fill it up. I get really attached and jealous if I think something's going to get in the way of me getting what's finally going to make me whole. And then oftentimes you don't get it and you feel horrible. And the entire time you've been, before you finally realized I'm not going to get it, you've been suffering that whole time. If you do get it, right? All the time you've been waiting to get it, you've been suffering, right? and then when you do get it, what happens? That same energy that felt attached is going to hold on tighter. It's going to be looking for the signs that you're going to lose it. There is just nothing that works in that approach, right? The root of it is there's something missing in me. This is it out there. And this belief that what's missing here can be filled up out there. It can't. And this is what has to come to be seen. What is it that I think is missing? Right? Now, you can have the spiritual or the kind of the new age ideas. Okay, I'm just going to trust in the flow. But you can't make yourself do that. And of course, the egoic mind can't do it at all. The egoic mind is made of attachments. It's made of discontent. That's all there is in it, right? It is the personification of discontent. So it cannot trust the moment. Only through wisdom, through this kind of coming to see, to truly coming to see what is, that will bring you into it, into the trust of the moment and let go of the attachment, because there's nothing for you to gain out there. The purpose of a relationship is not to get love, it's to give it. This is the way it is with anything. When I realize that I am whole, it doesn't mean I don't have relationships anymore, right? We're afraid, oh, I'm going to be off in a cave now or a monastery because I don't need anybody. It's not like that. The relationship now is not one of getting, it's one of giving. I'm not trying to get love. My infinite overflow of love is manifesting itself in a form of relationship, many different relationships, work relationships, creative relationships, business relationships, satsang, and sangha relationships, and romantic relationships. They're all a manifestation of the wholeness. When we seek the wholeness in the relationship, that's when the whole world gets turned topsy-turvy. That's the big illusion. That's the big mistake. It doesn't possess it. You do. Project it onto that, and that's where all the jealousy and attachment comes from. Come back home. You could not project onto anything this great thing that you wanted if you didn't have it here. The projector has the quality and projects it outward. It possesses the quality and puts it on the screen. And then ignorantly we believe that it's out there. We don't realize that this has been projected from here, which means everything you are seeking, you already are. That is the truth of being. Lovely. I'm going to speed up a little bit here now because it's getting late. It's 10 o'clock. Wow, I've not done satsang this late. Not really tired. I don't get tired until satsang's over. When it's over, it's just like... So I hope that answers it for you. Fredeus, I like that name, Fredeus Naili. Always people have such great names. Greg. Oh well. Facebook user, great to see you. Hope you're enjoying Germany. I am. It has been blissful. Lulu, found your channel today, loving the EFT. Oh, wonderful. I am actually in the process of planning and creating a whole new slew of EFT videos and EFT courses. I'm going to be focusing, I think, the next 6 months just on kind of upgrading the whole EFT thing, because it is such a powerful therapeutic tool. I will still be doing satsang, of course, and all of that. But as many of you know, while essentially I am a non-dual teacher, I have no problem with stepping down to the level of the therapeutic to alleviate suffering. And so I have my own approach to the emotional freedom technique, the tapping thing, that has that is very effective because it's rooted in this non-dual understanding of who you are. So of course it's going to be more powerful than merely a psychological approach. But I don't have any problem. I don't feel the need to just always make everything about this. Well, who are you? Who's the I? Who's the one that's seeing this? I just don't. If somebody's suffering, I want to alleviate their suffering. If I can, I want to bring them to the point where they know how to alleviate all suffering for all time. But if I can't get them there right away, I have no problem stepping back and just taking care of it moment by moment. And so that's what I do, teach others how to do that. So I love the EFT too. Thanks, Luna. Welcome to Germany. Thank you, Werner. Any plans for a retreat? I don't know if you heard it earlier or 9/17. I was talking about that earlier. Absolutely, I want to, either in private homes, while there's the lockdown is going on, or once things kind of open up in 22, maybe some more public places. I'll do pretty much anywhere as long as I can get enough people together that I can afford to get there and back and have a little left over to eat. That's my mission. So great data and GP, says Facebook user. Mark C. So good to see you. Happy you are in Germany. Thank you. Thanks, Mark. Milo. I would not recommend private meetings under the radar. Yeah, I when I said that, I didn't like the way I said that, because people are still allowed to gather. I don't know, maybe I won't be able to do that either. Obviously, as a foreigner here, I have to be even more conscious of the penalties for that are extreme. Even when I suppose that we're collecting money for it, it becomes an event. Well, thank you. I will check that out and do it officially. Well, thank you, Milo. Thank you. Thanks for the heads up. Because obviously I don't want to do anything that jeopardizes the long term, or anybody else as well. So thanks, Milo. Carrie, how to open my heart. Had a teacher respond to my request about my shadow. She said I'm actually closed, appearing cold to others due to unprocessed trauma. I don't want to contradict or step on the toes of any other teacher, especially when I don't know what happened. I don't know anything about it, right? I get kind of the vibe of the shadow work and that sort of thing, and I don't find it beneficial to just say to somebody, "You're really closed. You got unprocessed trauma," and leave it at that. And I can tell you're like, you've been kind of left in the weeds. You're feeling, I got to open my heart. My whole life's I can't do anything until I open my heart. Notice it didn't leave you in a better place. It didn't leave you with the word teacher should leave you. And that is the understanding that you are the heart. The heart, we're thinking of it as this thing, right? There's me, and then there's this thing, the heart, and it's closed, right? Well, hold on. Right? The heart is another word for you. The heart is another word for the self. Right? What's the heart of the issue? It's the utter center, the essence, the quintessence, right? That's you, right? You're not closed. You're not broken. You're not flawed. You're not stuck, right? You're dealing with all the shadows and all that are of the conditioning. They're the nervous system. They're not of you, right? And yes, these strong patterns, these patterns that want to block or or appear cold to others. No, she appeared cold. You're not actually cold, but if you're uncomfortable or if you're shy, if you really don't, there's something inside of you that doesn't know how to be with people because in the past it's gotten really hurt, doesn't know how to do it. Well, then you're going to appear. It may come across as coldness, but are you cold? No, right? Was it a trauma that created that? Absolutely, right? But is your heart closed? No. If your heart was closed, you wouldn't have cared enough to even try to open it. If it was really closed, we'd go, fuck you all, right? I don't care, right? And you really would be cold, right? But the very fact that you want to feel that, you want that to feel that closeness, you want to break through this wall, right? Indicates to me that there's absolutely nothing wrong with you at all. And in fact, the walls started to come down already. If it hadn't, there'd be no energy to try to even do this. You wouldn't have asked me this question. You wouldn't have asked the other teacher about your shadow. Now, I could go on about what the shadow actually is, but let me just put it in the most simple of terms. Conditioning, right, which is created by trauma. Now, what is trauma, right? Trauma is when you're in a situation, mostly as a child, where you're feeling threatened, you're feeling very afraid, maybe even terrified. In some instances, when you're very young, it can feel like a life and death threat. Many of them do when you're that young, even though to our adult minds, it doesn't look like a big deal. That's irrelevant. And because you're so vulnerable and you're so powerless, you can't run away from it because it's coming from your caregivers and you can't fight them, right? Now, these are the mechanisms by which the nervous system deals with everything. I'm either going to run away, first choice. If I can't run away, up go my dukes, second choice, right? Always the second choice because it's less likely you'll survive, right? But if you can't do either, what happens? Or when the ones who are supposed to be keeping you safe are the ones causing the distress, that's the trauma. You're locked, you're frozen, there's nothing you can do. And the nervous system does the most creative thing it can. It just kind of wraps that energy up, throws it away somewhere in the body, and begins to create a bunch of behaviors to keep that from happening again. Those behaviors will be, don't get in this situation, or you're always going to react in a particular way, even though you don't want to, because you're aware of it. That's all that's happening. It was an automatic process. It got put in place before you had any choice. It's not your fault. It's not your doing. And the good news is you're already waking up, or you wouldn't even be asking these questions. You wouldn't be asked the question enough. You wouldn't have been able to hear the answer that I just gave you. So you see, none of this is you. The shadow is not you. What the shadow is a set of behaviors that has been created by the nervous system to make sure you don't experience that level of threat again. And so it will just make all sorts of behaviors for avoiding it, for getting around it. It even creates an entire persona to present to the environment that isn't you, a completely false personality. The environment will think is you and therefore treat you the way you need to be treated to survive. It is just overwhelmingly amazing the way it works. But this is nature itself. None of this touches you. And the reason it did that is to protect the real you. You never got stuck. You never got conditioned. You never got destroyed. You were completely insulated by this brilliant system. So, my dear Carrie, I don't have to open your heart. It's already open. All I need to do is to show you the nature of what is keeping that open heart from fully expressing itself. And that comes through this most loving and tender reestablishment of a relationship, creating an inner environment of such love and safety that the conditioning, the nervous system itself can see, I no longer need this behavior. I'm in a safe place. I can drop it. That's how it works. So I hope you feel better now. Miss Mike, I couldn't find your question, Sylvia, about your grandchild. I'm sorry. Steph, yes, Gulag Archipelago is breathtaking master. Yeah, it is. It is. It deserves a Nobel Prize. God, I read it 1,000 years ago. But oh my God, what a one of the greatest writers of all time. Tian, hi Tian, hi GP. Can I ask you a question about sexual sin? The sexual desire keeps coming up in me, and I can't help but always try to satisfy it. Well, there is no such thing as sexual sin, right? Sex didn't come and said, I'm bad, right? Sex is a desire that arose. Sexual keeps coming. Duh. It's inherent in the body. It was made for it, right? I mean, look, we were made for it, right? We want to couple. We want to engage. We want to engage in that, and it's fun. We like it, right? It's not like it's unpleasant, right? Sin is a man-made concept, right? That was put on for the sole purpose of control. That was the only purpose to it, to control it, right? Because if you can make somebody think their own natural impulses and behaviors is offensive to some God, they have all the power to tell you exactly what to do. Well, you have to do this, this, and this, or God is going to get you, right? It's bullshit. It's bullshit. There is no such thing as sin, right? Now, here's what's interesting. When within a culture that authority, that ultimate authority, if you can't do this, which can't impel, like I earlier, the Jews finding the woman having sex and bringing her to be stoned to death. Right now, that's pretty severe. So that's kind of it puts a damper on it. They do it anyway, which can tell you exactly how powerful a desire this is. So let's not downplay it, right? Let's give it its dues. So that the powers that be that are trying to control it, well, they got an uphill battle. I mean, they're never going to be able to. That's the reality. Now, when the cultural institutions that are enforcing that, right, begin to weaken, they begin to, right, what happens? Well, the mentality, the same idea about it being sin is still there, but what then begins to arise is a rebellion against that, and now you get hedonism, you get promiscuity, you get indulgence, right? Most people find after a while that's not satisfying either. Going without is torturous, but just constantly indulging it's lost its flavor. It's, I mean, Osho once commented that he was criticized by both Playboy magazine and there was a German magazine, which is kind of the German counterpoint part, like Playboy. Now, Osho was one who said have sex as often and with as many people as you want. I mean, it was a very sensual environment that he created in his ashram. And so of all the people who shouldn't be being criticized by Playboy and this other magazine, he made the comment about it. He says, well, of course they did. Because if people were really free about it and really had choice, these guys would be out of business, because there'd be no more titillization. There'd be no more, ooh, the booby shot and stuff. It would be recognized to be the childish stupidity that it actually is. Okay? So let's go to your other part of the question. I can't help but always try to satisfy it. All right. What happens is that when we finally get permission after not having permission, right? There can be a tendency to be really indulged in it. And let's sex is fun. It feels good. It's wonderful. And therefore, it is a place where we can easily hide. All pleasures are like that. The pleasure of emotional eating, or working out. I was a gym rat for a while. I got kind of addicted to the feeling. It's sometimes doing a split workout. I'd be in there morning and the afternoon. I looked great, right? 10% body fat, but it was an addiction. Right? I was going for the high. Right? Little by little, my spirituality matured. I began to see through it. I brought balance into my life. Right? The same thing can happen with all pleasures, and sex is one of them. And so it can become a means for avoiding feeling. Right? If there's a feeling of discomfort, we're going, oh, I want to get laid. Right? I go on the hunt. If a sexual feeling comes up, we don't know how to be with it. Of course, you never learned it. If it was all sinful, how do you be with this feeling? Right? I got to get rid of it. I got to get rid of it. Right? And then it just morphs into the opposite. When we finally have permission to indulge it, I've got to satisfy it. I got to satisfy it. Both are wrong. Right? It's just a feeling. Right? But because of the way the mind has interpreted it, it's laid so much emphasis on, oh, you've got to now. Oh, there's no other way. And it will really resist just being with that feeling, right? And not satisfying it through finding a partner or self-pleasuring or whatever it is, which, by the way, when you get to that point where you liberate, you actually have choice. And now all of the techniques, the tantric stuff, the self-pleasuring or however it manifests itself, actually becomes more satisfying. It really does, because it's freed now from having to serve a purpose that it was never meant to serve. It can't solve your problems. All it can do is give you that physical sense of closeness and the physical pleasure. If combined with an emotional closeness, well, it can take it to another level. Combined with a spiritual perspective, it can take it to another level. But it can't do that in and of itself. So the real problem, why these things become addictive, is because the thing cannot actually deliver what you're really wanting. That means that you don't take the opposite. It's sinful. I should never do it. Right? You should never have any desires or do anything with your desire. That's nonsense as well. This is the desire for that. This is what it can do. It can't do this, and this, but it can do this. So if I use it for that, it'll be satisfying. If I try to get something from it, it can't give. It'll be totally unsatisfying. This is the nature of all relationships, by the way. So first off, sin is a man-made idea. What you're really asking is, how do I establish a healthy, spiritual, fun, playful, really natural and self-affirming relationship with the functioning of this body, including sexual desire? That's the question. How do you do that? Right? Letting it be the way it is, and noticing that our attitudes have been really distorted, bent out of shape, and we're all the inheritors of various kinds of attitudes and ideas about it. Every culture has its restrictions on it. Tian, you may be Asian, maybe Korean, Vietnamese, Thai, but or you may have been raised Christian. I don't know, but they all have various kinds of forms of it. Even in Buddhism, in which Buddha did not do that. Yeah, they were celibate, but it was a very. That's too late. I could talk about this for hours, but I think you got the message here. The sin and sinfulness is completely of the mind. Throw it out. It's not even worth your time, right? You're trying to establish the most natural, healthy, and happy and progressive relationship with your own body, all of its functions, your own nature, so that when that right relationship is established, you will then know true satisfaction, right? You won't always have to try to satisfy it because it won't be running the show. You will, right? And then you will be its master, which means you can have all the benefits from it without any of the downsides or the suffering. Oh, hope that helps you, Tian. You and millions of other people, by the way. And so Timeless Stuff adds about the Gulag Archipelago. Lucas, hi GP, have you ever experienced existential anxiety? Is this necessary on the spiritual path? No, it's not necessary. Nothing is necessary. Absolutely not. There are no prerequisites. There are no rules. There are no checklists. There's nobody keeping score. Right? Existential anxiety, fear of death. Right? Am I going to end? I mean, is it oblivion when I die? Is there going to be oblivion? Just nothing. Right? Well, of course, you'll never. If that's the case, you'll never know the answer because you won't be there to have an answer. So, and if it is, it's irrelevant, right? Only that, well, if it is, then what's the best way to spend my life? Right? But I just invite people to to just check in with yourself, just the feeling of being. You can't prove it intellectually or discursively. I can't say, oh, I've been there and come back. Yeah, big, right? You can't do any of that. So, logically, nobody can say yes or no to that question. So instead, you have to look for a different in a different way, intuitively. The feeling of being. Does it seem possible that that could ever stop? Just by experiencing, just tuning into the feeling of being itself. Does it feel like something that had a beginning or would have an end? Again, it's not logical. It's just feeling. Right? When I do that, it goes, no. It's this beingness is being. It can't stop being. It can't become non-existent. It just can't. I can't prove it to you, right? But I invite you, if you look, you'll find the same thing I did. And to the point where I have no doubt. I have no doubt. I have been before this life. I will be after this life. Because I am not this body. I am the perceiver of the body. And that perceiving has never stopped and doesn't exist in time. So hopefully that helps you with the idea of existential anxiety and that feeling of don't mistake what some people have happened. There's some people have had that existential anxiety and it's broken out and they've had the enlightenment because of that. There's no causal connection. There is nothing that causes enlightenment. There aren't steps. It just happens. When it happens, oh, they did this, and this. The Buddha was 6 years and didn't eat anything, and Steve Jardine, meditated on the I think therefore I am, and Ramana Maharshi thought he was going to die, so I'm going to try to do that. It's going to try to reproduce it. Enlightenment, the awareness of what is, it's what is, which means it is. It always will be, and it was. So nothing caused it. So you can't say, oh, here's the enlightenment, right? I did this and enlightenment. It has no causal connection to anything. Steve Jardine put it beautifully. He said, I can show you where to knock. I can show you the door to knock on. I can even show you how to knock. But there's absolutely no causal connection between you knocking and that door opening. However, if you're standing there knocking on the door, you're in the very best place to see it when it does. There's no causal connection between any spiritual practice or path and awakening. So there are no necessary steps. Just ponder this. I am already that. My mind just keeps telling me I'm not. Who's telling the truth? Roz, you look good in an attic. I'm not, hey, I'm not sure how to take that. Yes, old guy, let's put you up in the attic with the other artifacts. with all the old editions of National Geographic. Loving the session. My thoughts tell me I'm suffering, but now I see them as the idle activity of a defense mechanism. Beautiful. Yay. Because that's all it is. We get so used to it. There'll be moments when it's just like, I'm happy. Really? What's the matter? Something's off. This shouldn't be. What's wrong? And the mind will actually go looking for something wrong. It still happens. I find myself just kind of like wandering, singing, and all of a sudden the voice, you shouldn't be so happy. What? What are you going to be happy about? Look at all the problems in the world. Amazing. Lynn J., how do I stay informed of future satsangs in private homes? Well, any way I can work it out, and as Milo pointed out, that may not be the best strategy, but I'm going to look for whatever ways I possibly can where it is legit. I'm not going to get in trouble. I'm not going to get shut down and thrown out of the country for breaking the law. That would kind of be counter my whole reason for being here. So it will be public enough that I don't have to worry about it, and or private enough that there may be different rules, because people do have meetings in their own homes and that sort of thing. Although some places the lockdown is even more severe. They want people to not leave their house. I don't know, but it will be in such a way that I will be letting everyone know. So as long as you're on my mailing list, and if you're not, just go to gpwalsh.com, and right at the top there's a little thing for getting the ebook Angels in the Basement, and then you're on my list, and you be good. There's other ways too, but or you buy one of my very expensive courses. That'll do it too. So how do I stay informed of? Yeah, that's how you do it. So thank you for asking. I am so looking forward to getting in front of live, touch. Oh, look like a real person. Wonderful. David and Lane, thank you, Jeeve, this precious gift. Satsang whenever and wherever. I'll get used to the time. Jay, thank you for these satsangs. Non-duality makes life all more meaningful. Yes, it's what gives it meaning, but the meaning it gives it is the meaning. It's infinite value. It's not relative. It has meaning because it's of use to me, right? Or I care about it in some way. Nothing wrong with that, but this is infinite value. Thanks, GP, says Tian. You're very welcome. Ava, thank you, GP, for satsang, which makes every Sunday special. Yay. Melissa, thank you for the smile. You're welcome. Welcome. Janetta, how to manifest instantly from awareness? Thanks for the answer, says Lucas. Lucas, carrying on from Janetta's question, is manifestation actually real? The answer I'd expect is that it is real once you believe it is, but I've selfishly always just wanted to hear a straight answer. How to manifest instantly from awareness? You can't manifest instantly from awareness, right? How can you manifest? Notice that in your question, you've made you and awareness two different things, right? How do I? So I'm awareness is a state I'm going to get to. And then from this state, I will have the yogic powers. That is how people perceive it. And it's wrong. You've got two. There's me and awareness, me and consciousness, me and the law of attraction. There's no difference, right? I've objectified something, right? Now, awareness is awareness. It's aware, right? If there's an I from awareness, isn't that aware? If it's not aware, then it doesn't know that it's in awareness, that it could be manifesting from. So the I is awareness. You are awareness, right? Now, the desire to manifest, look at it carefully. This is where it can become really dicey, and where you need real spiritual integrity, right? Because it's very easy for us to just want the thing, right? Because we think that we're missing something and this thing is going to bring it. The way manifestation really works is you realize there are no things. I am everything. It's already in me. And you know it to such a degree that you don't care whether it's here or not. And then that inner state will manifest itself in some form. But you don't even care what it is, because you've already got it. You're already it. You're lacking nothing. And isn't that what we're seeking? When I want to manifest something, what I'm really trying to do is to get free of the feeling of lack. And I think if I get it, then I won't. And it's true. If I believe this is going to fill me up in some way, I will get it. I will then have the feeling of being filled up, not because it actually filled up, because my belief about it was fulfilled and I let myself feel filling up. But eventually this will fade, sometimes quickly. Next week you're selling it on eBay, right? Sometimes more slowly. But everything here is fluctuating because it isn't substantial. It isn't what you really want, right? What you want is the eternal feeling of wholeness. You cannot get that from anything. But once you have that, everything just happens. It's not even the thought. A desire arises and it's immediately fulfilled, because the desire isn't even yours. You are the space in which it is happening. And so you're not manifesting from awareness. Awareness is simply manifesting itself as this whole universe. And you are no longer the individual in the universe. You are the universe. And you're already the infinite. What is there to manifest? What is missing? This is where I want to send you. This is where I want to put you. This is where I want to bring you to. So you won't worry about that. And at that point, Red Seas part. And it's so natural, you don't think anything of it. Oh, that's really great. I really want that Red Sea to part. They just do. They just do. And when they don't, you swim. Simple. Get a boat. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Sarah, hello. If the body is not aware, who is aware? You are. Are you not aware of the body? Now, this is a big one, I know, because the very first belief we all acquired, when the sense of separation emerged, maybe because of some kind of a trauma, something, or just happened because it happens, the sense of separation was immediately followed by an identification. Because, when you're the child, it's undifferentiated consciousness. There's no me, there's no you, there's no up there, there's no nothing. It is pure experience, just flow. Recently watching my newborn granddaughter, holding her in her hands, she's just looking at. There's no concepts. It's pure experience, undifferentiated consciousness. Well, something happens at a moment where there's a sense of self and other. It's very subtle. Something happened in the environment, and that this split, which isn't real. The undifferentiated consciousness is real. The split isn't. But something happens, and suddenly there's a sense of separation. And in that moment, the very first thing that happens is, I am the body. Boom, emerges. Because if I'm separate from this, what am I? The question doesn't even arise in undifferentiated consciousness, does it? There's no. Why would it arise? Because there is no me or you, right? But the moment that sense of separation emerges, the need to know who I am happens, and it immediately identifies itself with the body. Now notice, you didn't become the body. The body is not self-aware. Consciousness is awareness. Consciousness is aware. Now, what is it that's hearing my words right now? Who is hearing my words? Are your ears hearing the word? Is this microphone hearing my words? It's transmitting some stuff, but there's no sentience here. There's no cognizance. Is my mouth hearing the words? Is your ear hearing the words? Little drum vibrating and all the little nerves going on up and down. Is any of that structure actually hearing? You're hearing. That consciousness is the awareness. That's what hears. That's not the body. This is the realization. I am not the body. I am the consciousness that animates the body. I have believed myself to be the body. Consciousness, believing itself to be the body, has conformed itself to the body and therefore taken on the fears of the body, the destiny of the body that's going to die, the body that has needs, the body that gets attached, the body that has addictions, the body that has problems. All of that, the functions are the body's problems, right? Consciousness identified with that thinks that it is the body and therefore experiences life as if it were. You're not the body. You are the awareness in which the body has appeared. Are you not aware of your body? Are you not aware of the thoughts? Right? Is that which is aware of the body the body? Even in the most materialistic model, you can't have that kind of awareness. There must be two. I'm aware of it, therefore I am not that. And just notice that. I'm aware of the sensations. I'm not even aware of a body. I'm only aware of sensations. I don't even know if there is a body. I experience sensation. I don't really know what's originating those sensations. I thought it was a body. What if it isn't? What if it's self-generated, like a dream at night? Dream at night, I have a body and I have sensation. There's no body. All the emotions, there's something experiencing emotions. Thoughts, there's something looking at the thoughts. That awareness is not the body. That's you. Hopefully that points you in the direction to ponder that, Sarah. Because it will take some pondering, because we've spent a long time well rehearsed the idea that I am the body and all of the different nuances and forms and shapes it can take. And so it's not going to immediately go, oh, I'm not the body. Okay. No, the thousands, millions of programmed responses and thoughts and feelings all revolving around that one thought, which you're now beginning to disbelieve. And it will dissolve, and all of it will dissolve with it, and the true I will take its place as the organizing principle, but that will take some time. Don't worry about it. Janetta, thank you. You're welcome. We all want red to see to open. We do, don't we? We all want that to part. What it really means is what you want to do is part all the obstacles that keep you from knowing you. That is the real desire behind all manifestation. You can never establish a material utopia. It's not possible. How many times has it been tried? Every single time it has failed. You'd think we'd get the clue by now. Okay. I had no intention of staying on this long, but I just can't help it. The energy gets going and I want to answer all the questions. What can I say? I don't control it, right? The questions come up, the answers come, the mouth moves. And that's that. Thank you all, my dear friends. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to my Airbnb host who provided good enough internet service that I could do this from beginning to end. I wasn't sure it was going to work, but there we are. So my thanks to Gerd and Yuta, who provided me with this beautiful place. Remy, hi G, thank you for being spiritual teacher. I've grown a lot spiritually and mentally from the work you've done and the people you've taught. Thank you. You're amazing. Thanks, Remy. The amazing in me recognizes the amazing in you. Anja, wonderful evening. Lisa, thank you. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, one and all. Thank you. Love you all. Namaste.